because these were both photos from the current, most recent movie, right? So I'm like, do we just go with their story is told in the movies? Do we go with physical attractiveness of these actors? Because, they're superheroes. They're pretty good looking, right? I mean, so what do we base our decision on? And finally, I made my decision based on the Aquaman. It seems like he would fit in as Alaskan. He's kind of, he lives. Use the word love to mean things like, that's my favorite, or I love that thing. Oh my goodness, right? In that way. And so we dilute the power of the word. And that's okay, because, if we're going to dilute a power of a 4-letter word, that one, I would rather you throw around that one than some other ones like hate and fear and words like that. Those are at least 4-letter words we don't like as much, right? But as you may know, we're doing the 12 powers, one a month. This month is the power of love, hence pink ribbons on the candles, hence that I'm wearing pink. Take note, it only happens once a year. Borrowed from my sister's closet. And so the power of love, as in one of the 12 powers, not more than an emotion or an affection or I just love that coffee brand. The power of love, according to The Revealing Word by Charles Fillmore, is love is the pure essence of being with a capital B. Love is the pure essence of being that binds together the whole human family. Of all the attributes of God, love is undoubtedly the most beautiful. In divine mind, love is the power that joins and binds in divine harmony the universe and everything in it, the great harmonizing principle known to man. Or mankind. That's a lot more than a feeling, right? The great. And so the 12 powers, let me back up a second, just in case you didn't. The 12 powers are attributes that they're not different or separate from the God or Spirit. They're just ways for us to understand or work at, because sometimes living up to our Christ potential seems like kind of a really big job. But if we can I can work on the power of love, or I can work on the power of understanding. It just makes sometimes a little more digestible bits. So, and the colors that go along with powers are just a little bit of fun. And since I grew up in youth ministry and unity, the colors are ingrained in my but those are just a bit of fun. They're just a bit, yeah. So love is the harmonizing power of the universe. I've said it's the super glue that brings us together, and it's the thing that attracts us to things of like mind. And so Paul Hasselbeck wrote in Heart Center Metaphysics, whatever we are focusing on or attracting ourselves to, we are loving. Whatever we are focusing on or attracting ourselves to, we are loving. The power of love will harmonize and unify whatever it can match. It can, to match that. Whatever it is. So if I'm sorry, music team, I'm going to put you on the spot because I forgot to ask you earlier. So if I just hummed a note, they probably could harmonize with it. If I just went, do, maybe. Well, they could. They could. On a good day, they could. I don't put them on the spot. But if I picked a different note, they could harmonize with that. And they could harmonize with that. That's what the power of love does. It brings us into this harmony. So what if that note that you throw out is anger. Is that going to be what the universe harmonizes with? Yeah, that's the law. It's a law. It's not, it's going to, it's going to harmonize with that and bring more of that. If we put out compassion, that's going to be what the universe harmonizes with. It just harmonizes. That's the way it works. So what are we putting our attention on? It's as simple as that, or as complicated as that. Just because, one pop culture reference isn't enough in a talk, where I'm also going to quote Yoda. Master Yoda says, fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
Who's Yoda?
From Star Wars. But it sounds very Buddhist. I'm sure that's where they got it from, right? Fear is the path to the dark side. So we've got all sorts of great 4-letter words in there. Fear, hate. Anger's kind of a 4-letter word, even though it's not. And so those, to me, I believe that fear is actually the opposite of love. Because what we don't understand, we push away, right? And we don't want to connect with that. And so we get in this energy of pushing away, and it just causes more trouble, causes more suffering, causes more anger. It's not the world I want to live in. And so it's hard, though, because we see things happening in the world, either in our backyard or around the world, that we don't like, that we don't agree with, that hurt. We see suffering. What do we do about that? And so some people take to the streets and march, and that's one way to do it. And, Mother Teresa said, I'm not going to come to your anti-war march, but I'll come to your peace march. Because it's about what do we want to harmonize. And it's hard. It sounds like just a trick of the words to say, I am for everyone having a safe place to live. Instead of saying, I am against domestic violence. I would really like domestic violence to not exist in our world. But when we put energy into anti, we are putting energy into that. How can we put energy into solving? I am for finding solutions for people to be able to be safe. I am for finding solutions and safe places for people to be. I am for people understanding their feelings so they don't feel a need to step out and cause harm to one another. Because that's the energy I want to harmonize. That's the energy I want to continue to stack up. When I was in choir, way back in high school and college, if we could pop a harmony tight enough, you could actually hear notes that we weren't singing that were part of further, an octave above what we were actually singing, because we'd hit the sweet spot on the chord. We can do the same thing with our thoughts and our energy that we put out into our world. So that's not to say that we don't have upsets, and that's not to say that we don't have feelings about what's going on. But the best thing we can do is have the feeling, notice it, be true with it, and then focus on, where do I want this to go? What do I want to create in my world? Do I want to create more angst, or do I want to create an environment where a solution is possible? Eric Butterworth, who wrote a whole slew of Unity books, was a very popular Unity minister. He wrote in Discover the Power Within You, "We are not in the world to set it right, but to see it rightly." We are not in the world to set it right, but to see it rightly. Meaning we can't fix every single thing that annoys us about the world. There may be some things we can do. But we can't fix everything. But we can choose to sit our mind in the consciousness of how we wish it to be. Not to ignore things or not to be floating about saying, oh, those things are not problems. But that we are in the consciousness that there are solutions. And we're willing to do what's ours to do something about it, but not to be focused on the problem, but be focused on the solution. Because that, whatever we focus on, that is what the harmonizing power of love will replicate. It's that simple. So here's the thing. That's really great in theory, but I don't know about you. I know I have gone down the rabbit hole of worry and freak out. Anybody else gone down the rabbit hole of worry and freak out? Okay, I can see some agreement. It happens. And so here's the problem. Can be the problem. When you know and understand about that your thoughts create things and this harmonizing power, sometimes when you go around down the rabbit hole of worry and freak out, then you go down the rabbit hole of, oh my gosh, I'm going to create that. Stop. Okay? It's okay, because here's the deal. We've heard thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. It's another way to say this. Held. That's the most important word of that whole little ditty. Held in mind. So if you have the random thought about, man, that person really pissing me off, I just wish they would go away. If it's a fleeting thought, you're good. Now, if you decide to make that your thing, then we may have a problem, because then we're holding it in our mind, right? We're starting to create the anger and hate and fear and making up stories about how they're the bad guy and all of that stuff, right? We don't want to do that. No. So, held in mind. So have your freak out, have your worry session, and, maybe you write it down so you've got it out. Maybe you burn it. Maybe you put it through the paper shredder. Whatever you need to do to, let it go. Maybe you call up a trusted friend who won't go down the rabbit hole with you, but will hold the space. And then you've had an opportunity to let it go. Because that's the thing, once we pray about something, we need to let it go, right? So, worry is a misuse of the power of imagination. Have you heard me say that before? If you haven't, wait 2 months. You'll hear me say it again, probably, because imagination will be in a few months. But it's also a misuse of the power of love, because we're going to harmonize whatever we spend a lot of time putting our energy into. So let's put our energy into the solution. Let's put our energy into holding the vision for a safe place for all. Let's hold a vision for nourishment and education and all the things that people need to have healthy, prosperous lives, that those things are happening. And then as we're holding that vision for those things, we're holding that harmonizing, we may say, you know what, there's something in here that's mine to do. And then we can do it. Knowing that we're not here out of pity or out of a need to shame or to judge, but just to be part of the solution. When Marianne and I go and help with the food distribution at Christmas and Thanksgiving, the big food thing, I'm very, you could go and help out of pity because they need something. But I'm there because I want to share. Because I got the Christmas spirit, and let's share it. Out of gratitude, out of support. out of abundance. I feel grateful that I can go to the store and buy the things I need. What a wonderful thing to be grateful for. Could you be grateful every time you go to the store and you buy the things you need? Isn't that wonderful? Let's put that gratitude. That's a great thing to harmonize. Yeah. Let's multiply it. Later, I'm going to be grateful for pancakes. Since it's pancake day. So, love is the power. We hear it so much. And so when we hear it in our world, we don't have to make it go away. But notice, what are we loving? What are we harmonizing? Love is the great attractor. The thing that brings us more of whatever it is. Doesn't matter whatever it is. So go forth and harmonize the world you wish to see.